Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today we're talking revenge. I have been so looking forward to this. You guys are my happy place. You're wonderful. And I just love your comments so much. You're amazing. So we're back and revenge. And I'm so excited to be here. We're going to keep going with this book. And somebody asked what's next. Of course, we're doing Cordia's next. That's the plan. I've had lots of requests for Lady C's book. We can definitely take a look at that, and we'll talk about it when it gets closer. Lots of stuff coming up, so check in for that. Got Patreon really going on. Check that out. We're having a lot of fun over there. Jay and I jump on mics and talk about Hank and Skank, and we've been recapping the engagement interview and having so much fun. So thank you to all who have joined. I really appreciate all the support. It really means the whole wide world. I'm going to be shouting out my executive producers in a little bit, so check back for that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Patreon. Let's jump into revenge. So we pick up on chapter 25. So remember we left off with the Finding Freeman. I never said that right. Finding Freedom with Omid Scobie. You know, I cannot stand that guy. We pick up with him. He's working on this, I don't know, fiction work. And Meghan was concerned with her personal styling. You guys, I did not make that sentence up. Let's think about that. Meghan was concerned with her personal styling. That was like one of the first sentences that I had when I picked up this part of the book, and I could not stop laughing. I had to write it down, and I had to laugh about that because, as you know, we've been laughing about her awful styling, right? Like, that's the ongoing joke. However much money she spent, she looks terrible. So Knopf was there. He was still believing he was doing the right thing, helping her. She was not telling him the full story about what was going on, from everything from like with the media to the events with her dad. Everything was being spun. We know this now of Meghan. Knopf did not realize it at the time. He thought he was helping. He was emphasizing the importance of being able to say, hand on heart, he did not cooperate in this book. You know why I'm kind of giddy and laughing about this. We'll get to it. Don't worry. We'll get to it. So, yeah, that comes back to bite them all on the A because we know what happens. All right, Scobie. Funny enough, Scobie was known for selling tabloid stories. So think about that. These two who pretend to hate the media, and I say pretend because they sure do like to work with the media to get attention. They just don't like bad stories about themselves. Let's call a spade a spade. Scobie was known for telling tabloid stories, and yet they sure wanted to pair up with him, make him their lapdog / mouthpiece, and they seem to be okay with him for some reason because, again, make it make sense. Oh, make it make sense. I'm so glad I said that. You guys, I have Make It Make Sense merch. Check that out as well. The Recollections May Vary merch has been incredible. Now we have Make It Make Sense because it's one of my favorite things to say. I say it about this and I say it about and just like that because none of it makes any sense. Okay. December 10th, Knopf sent Meghan a list of questions to prep Scobie because Knopf was going to meet with him and Scobie had some questions, so Knopf forwarded them on. Knopf reminds her of her need for deniability, like, Meg, back off, Schmeg, back off. You don't need to be involved in this. We got this. Harry played along and says, oh, yes, of course, yes. That's my Harry. Yeah, of course. I'm eating crayons. Of course, we don't want to be involved. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's saying that with his fingers crossed behind his back, right? Like, you can't believe anything either of them say. Guys, we're going to get into some big inconsistencies coming up, so hold on to that. 3 years earlier in Elle magazine, Meghan said her parents, quote, crafted a world around her to make her feel like she wasn't different, but that she was special. Isn't this a different story? Didn't she talk about feeling different? I mean, it's just, sure, Meghan, sure. It's just whatever story suits them at the time, that's what they go with. And I think that's honestly one of the reasons I'm so fascinated by these two is because the story changes constantly and it makes them look absolutely insane. And it's kind of fun to watch and it's fun to point out the inconsistencies because they put them on record and they just don't care. Okay. She also discussed her parents as a tight-knit group. Again, dying to see the Tom Bower update to see what the real story is there. Let's see. Oh, so for the book, she was spinning this tale that she was supporting her father, but he'd spoken out and said, no, 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 she didn't support me. Tom Bower, again, love him. He always brings the truth. He explains, well, she did give him $20K, but she was not supporting her father. Okay. Then Meghan tries to interject these. Again, this is drafted for the book. This is something she wrote out, that the Tiara Gate wasn't what they said. She ended up leaving out the whole Tiara Gate, and we know what went down. We've discussed it at length, but she left that out about the Emerald Tiara, because why tell the truth when you can just spin it however you want? That seems to be her and Harry's motto and the words they live by. So she says that the Queen said they all suited her. Of course she's saying that. Meghan's world, we all just live in it. Oh, she also felt the need to emphasize, this has come up twice, that Jessica Mulroney was not her stylist. Now, I can't stand Jessica Mulroney, we know this, but I'm just laughing thinking she thinks she's taking a dig at Jessica Mulroney, and I say, have we seen how Maggie Poo dresses? That's a compliment. You're actually doing Jessica a favor by separating her from your horrible fashion choices. According to the book, Harry wanted to, quote, tell everyone what she's been through the last 2 years. What the hell is Harry's problem? All I can think, again, this is me thinking, is, I mean, he's stunted at the age of 12 when he lost his mom, and he's never aged beyond that. That's why he writes like a 12-year-old and thinks like a 12-year-old and can't stop talking about his Todger and his mummy and his face cream. You get it. So the idea is that this book that would eventually become Finding Freedom, it would be targeted toward Americans. What's that you say? Setting seeds for when you move to America? What? She had it planned all along? No, I'm shocked. I hope you can hear the sarcasm in my voice. She wanted it to, quote, correct the record. My take on this is, well, she wanted to hide the truth, right? Correct the record. It's been on record, things she said before, and now she wants to spin that. So, of course, she wants to, quote, correct the record. Knopf said it would be a celebration for her. Again, he was still under the misassumption that she was being treated so poorly and still believing anything that comes out of their mouths. According to the book, Knopf bent over backwards to help Meghan. The palace was in overdrive to protect Meghan as well. Looky there. Everything they said didn't happen, right? Is that nobody protected them and they were on their own and nobody would help them because they were too busy helping William. These two, they can't even keep their lies straight. She and Harry would deny that they ever collaborated with authors or that they put in their version of events by means of the book. So straight up lying, again, what else is new? That's all these two know how to do. Okay, they went on to do a signed legal statement saying that neither she nor Harry wished to be involved in any way with the book and that Knopf didn't contact Meghan on any matters regarding the book. Again, Bower bringing all the evidence. That is not the case. All right, Cordias, let's get into this because this is how I understand it. I'm sure things will be not exactly right. You can correct me in the comments. It's cool. Let's get into it. The problem here is they're like, no, we didn't have anything to do with Finding Freedom. That could be Harold or Fraud's voice, you pick. And they even put out this legal statement saying, no, we didn't do it. No, we would never. They had Knopf fooled and everybody at the palace thinking, okay, they didn't actually get involved in this Finding Freedom, so they could actually put out a statement saying, no. And I think it was in July, they'd put out a statement, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were not interviewed, did not contribute to Finding Freedom. So that was in July, right? Well, obviously, we know that's not the case. They did get involved. Because she was involved with the High Court and she was suing over the letter to her father, she ended up having to admit that, oh yeah, she was involved. Her excuse was that she was worried that her father's narrative about her, including that she had allegedly abandoned him, might be included in the book. Therefore, she presented her own version of events to a source to pass along so the true position could be communicated to the authors to prevent any further misrepresentation. So it's all a big lying game with these two, as we know. They can deny until somebody points out the truth. It's just whatever suits them at the time, that's what they're going to say. So that was the side trip to explain exactly what was going on throughout this process. They spin it one way. No, we would not be involved in this. This isn't our book. We didn't write it. And then Bauer explains, oh, yes, they did. They were absolutely involved. Meghan was emailing 31 talking points to Scobie and answering a million questions and absolutely everything to involved with finding freedom. So, yeah, again, no relationship with the truth. Let's just say whatever we want because it suits them. So this is Christmas 2018. Behind the scenes, the Fab Four, no longer, we know this. But in public, they were trying to put on a happy face. They were doing the Sandringham thing. They were headed to Mary Magdalene Church, and Meghan was giving big old fake smiles, trying to neutralize stories about the bridesmaids. This is what I mean by whatever version of the truth that suits them is what they expect everybody to abide by. So it's interesting that she was expecting everyone else to play along, so that way she could maybe neutralize the story about the bridesmaids, right? She was trying to get everybody to play along and smile, and she and Harry sure do love to spin stories about everybody else. But when it comes to them, they expect everybody to play along and smile and back up her side of the story. Just saying. We've called it all along. Not even surprised anymore, but it's just interesting. It's an interesting psychological study, I'll say that. So meanwhile, Thomas Markle is spending Christmas alone. He ended up giving an interview to a British tabloid and said that his daughter was, quote, just a pretty girl married to a former army officer who would never be king. Oh, if those two hate negative press, you know that had to grind their gears, right? He goes on to say that Meghan could have prevented this just by giving him a call. So I would like to point out, every step of the way, they always make the worst decision possible. We all said the same thing. Just give him a call. You know, the Queen and Charles were encouraging her, just go fly out there and meet with the guy. But I'm saying, okay, maybe that wasn't, I don't know, maybe that wasn't who can get in the mind of any of these people, but whatever, just pick up the phone. It's easy. I don't know what her problem is. Everything's her problem. Okay, so then they go on to explain that Harry and Meghan spent £2.65 million to rebuild Frogmore, but she was still dissatisfied. Now, I love this part of the book because this contractor that was working with them to do the renovation went on record, and he said that she was constantly changing her demands. Where have we heard that before? Hello, wedding dress. She seemed to be playing a part of a duchess and she thought she was expected to behave like Marie Antoinette. So that's what she was doing. Let them eat cake, right? Oh, I love that movie, by the way. Kirsten Dunst, great movie. So the other thing that they discuss is during this renovation, she had the best of everything, of course, from contractors to just everybody helping with the renovation. She even had the curator from Buckingham Palace that was responsible for the Queen's paintings to come over and help, but she was still mad because she said he didn't produce the results she expected. Nice, huh? So the stories of this got out. The media was getting involved knowing that she was behaving like this behind the scenes. And of course, bad stories in the media. Meghan's not happy. Meghan wants, Meghan gets. Like I say, she was unhappy. She felt like the building was good enough for staff, but not the Duchess. I'm rolling my eyes so hard once again. Sounds good enough for me. It all came to a head when she started to complain about the $4.5 million William and Catherine had spent renovating Kensington Palace apartment. Okay, I would like to spend about 14 hours talking about this. In what world does she think that she should get the exact same things that William and Catherine had? They've been together a lot longer. married a lot longer. They are the future king and queen. So, of course, they'll be entertaining more people at their home. I just think it's ridiculous and shows the lack of awareness from these two that they would expect the exact same renovations, the exact same treatment. Maybe if you hadn't spent an obscene amount on your wedding, maybe there'd be some left over to renovate your free house, your entitled twits. So it confirmed to Meghan that no one appreciated her. I hope she still realizes this. And that her power and influence that she thought she got by being married to Harry was all an illusion. I find that very funny. So the prize you thought you were going to get versus the prize you actually got. Okay. I would say he also got the short end of the stick as well. You two would deserve each other. Okay, so then this weird stuff comes up, and I do remember hearing about this in the news. Again, my UK people can fill me in on this one. There was a focus on, they didn't like that a public park was not too far from their house. And so they fought and felt like they needed a, quote, much needed ring of steel. But they got it ordered that the public not approach Meghan or her dogs in Windsor Park. This did not win them popular approval. And what happened with that? Well, Meghan found somebody else to blame. Get this. So that's why I pointed out that Knopf was bending over backwards, trying to help her with this book, Finding Freedom. Well, she started to blame Knopf, right? Because he was being nice to her. Why not? She started to blame Knopf and saying that he was the reason that these negative stories were coming out because he wasn't doing anything to stop them. It was at this point that I'm going to go a direct quote from Tom Bauer. They began to accuse tabloids of arousing racism. Okay, let that sink in. These two that in real time just caught huge backlash because they were accusing the royal family of the same thing, and yet they backtracked on that. So it's funny how they throw that card around when it suits them, right? Meghan says that she was undefended from the media. However, previously, she gave an interview with the BBC that she ignored the media. So interesting that she knows all these media stories when she ignores the media, right? She even had said something like she wouldn't read it and that she didn't get on Facebook. Whatever she said. I have that clip, but she had said that she ignored it. She doesn't read any of that stuff. Obviously, that's not true. She adores the fame, quote unquote. Meghan and Harry began to call themselves persecuted insiders. That made me gag. So this is when the I didn't want to be alive anymore stuff came out. And I have to, it's hard to discuss on YouTube. So think with me here. You know what I'm talking about. That stuff that she claims started to come out. Okay. She started to discuss this with Harry. Tom doesn't say this. I'm saying this because we all know this. We all have brains. Of course she's going to say this to Harry because the famous stories of Diana are out. We know about the stuff that Diana was dealing with, especially while pregnant. And so, of course, she's going to say this stuff because she knows it gets her attention and it bugs the piss out of Harry. And that seems to be one of her favorite pastimes. She gets the crayon eater all riled up. Right? Then and she gets the attention she craves. Win-win. So she's telling Harry this, and he goes, of course, into a tailspin. Meghan, at this point, said her reasoning was, quote, critical media. So again, think with me here. Didn't these two just put out a big stupid book called Spare where they were critical of their entire family, both sides, and criticized every grievance they've ever had since they were fetuses? And yet she's saying the criticism is the reason that she was having these thoughts. So, whatever truth that suits them, that's their truth, right? Their truth. There is no such thing as their truth. There is the truth or not. It's Amber Heard all over again, I swear to God. They keep contradicting themselves. What else is new? All right, January 2019. That's when that evening at the Royal Albert Hall happened. We know with the sparkly dress and the intense hand-holding Cirque du Soleil performance. Tom Bauer does not come out and say that it just didn't appear to be true, anything that they were saying. So I'll say it did not appear to myself that it did. It just doesn't, none of it makes sense. Okay. Harry is talking about how unfair it would be on him that another woman in his life could potentially be gone. Listen, I want to put a little asterisk here and say I am not talking light about the subject matter. If that was truly happening, clearly, worst thing I've ever heard. That's terrible. What I'm pointing out is that it's interesting that these stories now, how they've changed, how it's an interesting coincidence, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, with the Diana of it all. That's the point I want to that's the point I'm trying to make. It just doesn't make sense, right? Make it make sense. Especially since Harry had previously talked about therapy, and now this is where that stuff where therapy wasn't an option for Meghan started to come up. What? Why wouldn't it be an option for Meghan? They even get into that they talk to a senior, quote, unnamed royal, which, by the way, they've never named who this person was. They're just, again, that unknown source that they love to use when it suits them. They sought help with this person, but was denied, saying that it would not be good for the institution. So you're telling me some high up fictitious royal said, no, Harry, it would not be good for the institution. We'd rather your wife truly suffer and deal with mental health. You know what I mean? If it was truly that dire, why wouldn't Harry step in and take her right then to a place where she could get help, or bring somebody in to get her help? It just, again, the truth is irrelevant to these two, right? Tom Bower points out that there are conflicting accounts about this fact, about, her having these feelings and the things that they've said since, from the time of day that she was having these feelings to the number of days she dealt with this. And they never gave an explanation as to why Meghan sought help from an unnamed palace official. Why not go to the top? Okay, Harry never identified which member of the family it was who, quote, neglected his wife. Tom Bower points out, sure seems like that Harry's the one neglecting his wife. Harry goes on to point out again, because it's his favorite go-to thing, how much Meghan, quote, gave up to marry into the royal family, and she's become an unprotected target. Well, I would say the unprotection started at home. Let's say I believed Meghan. I don't. Let's say I did on this. I would say, Harry, what the hell are you doing? If somebody that close to you is in that much trouble, why aren't you stepping up? Crybaby. Okay. So then we go on to the next chapter. Chapter 26, Exposure. Meghan is talking to her American girlfriends. Why is this important? Because she's spinning something different to them than what's actually happened. Do you see the theme here? It's the same thing she was doing Knopf. She spins a story of whatever suits her at the time. She gets people riled up to be on her side and then steps away. Like, oh yeah, that never happened. So she's speaking to them, and her California friends are revving her up to fight back with the media. Scobie's book has been delayed. She's pissed about that. She wants her words out there, even though, guys, she claims that she didn't have words in the book, right? Oh, God, the inconsistencies are fun. And she was urgent to try to find another platform. She wanted to be able to... They wanted to put out Meghan's plight. They wanted to describe it. And one of the friends in this group that wanted to, quote unquote, help her is a friend of Dan Wakeford's. And he was over People magazine at the time. So he agreed. The deal is, one of the key ingredients in this article would have to be the letter to her father, Thomas. She's denied using it as a calculated media strategy. The rest of us who have heads can see, brains and eyes can see that's exactly what happened. She knew by giving her friends this letter, they would be able to not only outline it, but actually quote from it, right? It was on the eve of this publication of the Five Friends when she went and did her banana trick. Not the one you think I'm talking about, not the yacht stuff, but the banana trick where she thought she was so clever drawing on bananas. Well, when the media criticized her on that, guess what? You ready to be shocked? I know. Hold on. She called them racist. Nice, huh? Same thing when she visited, it was, I believe, Manchester University. And she pointed out that there were too many white males for her liking. Yep, that's a direct quote in the book. She was breaching the rule of impartiality. She was getting full of herself. She was trying to spin anything she possibly could in her way. And she had done all of, like, I think it was those 2 visits, and some theater outings. And that was it for 7 weeks. And so Tom Bauer points out that Anne at this time had done 25 full days during the same amount of time. So how about that? Harry, again, in his book Spare, hates it when people compare their work to somebody like Princess Anne, who works nonstop around the clock and is often, like we talked about in the last episode, she's often semi-anonymous. So they're all about the public recognition, and to her, it's being a celebrity is more important than anything such as royal duties. You guys, that is where I'm leaving it. Ugh. Oh, God, I don't even know why I let them frustrate me so much, but I do. It's interesting. It's a great book. I still love it. It's just so interesting to read this after reading Spare and knowing all the lies that have come out. It's just completely fascinating to me. And again, I ask the question, who could possibly blindly follow these two? I don't know. They're out there. I don't get it. Before we go, I do have to give a special, huge thank you to my executive producers. If you're like, Jen, what's that? I'll tell you. It's a special tier on my Patreon, and these wonderful people have joined and become executive producers, so I would like to take a minute to shout them out. A huge thank you to Kristen, to Linda Kincaid, Melissa Wright, Paige Bennett, Teresa H., and to Mary. I appreciate you all so very much. I truly do. You guys are helping to support the show. You are on the special executive producer tier. Thank you for that. If you have recently joined the executive producer tier, I will get to your shout out, so have no fear, but I just wanted to recognize those that are members as of the 2nd. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything. I'm happy to shout out anybody that joins the executive producer tier, and we'll do these, in videos as often as we can. Again, huge thank you to anybody that's on the Patreon. That is so wonderful. We're having so much fun over there, and we appreciate you so much. And a special shout out to my executive producers. You guys are wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Definitely check out the merch. Recollections may vary. Hank and Skank, we got so much fun stuff over there. We just added Make It Make Sense, but it is available on the website. I will put the link in the comments. You can find it there. Just thank you guys for everything. Got lots of videos coming out, lots of shorts going up. You can always adjust your notifications if you're getting bombarded by all the shorts. I totally get it. YouTube is pushing shorts big time. So that's why I'm putting out so many, because they are all about that. You'll get that from all your creators now. But thank you guys for everything. I appreciate you, and have a fabulous day. I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.